What are some things you'd only know by growing up poor? Most gas station attendants will not stop a small child from stealing toilet paper from the bathrooms. Who knew? I used to work at a gas station. I looked the other way for a lot of shit. Everyone is struggling and I don't give a shit if a kid steals a candy bar or gets a free icy. One man didn't have enough money for a lighter, so I said wait till I turn around. Go walk to the door, light the cig, throw the lighter on the ground, and walk out. Years ago when I was an attendant, if I knew or noticed someone having a hard time, I would put money in towards what they were getting, within reason. $10 in gas but your card was declined. I got it. Need a drink but you don't get paid till tomorrow. Don't worry, what's $2? The regulars were aware I'd help them out if need be, and they never took advantage. I'd often be paid back next time they come through on my shift, or if I was working alone they'd come in and sit with me. Hell, I was working alone one time, and this regular who I helped out a lot, his name was Ray. The gas station was off the highway out in BFE. He stayed till I got out of there at like 12:30 AM and took the garbage out for me. Knowing the cheapest thing on the menu at every restaurant. For when your friend's family invites you out to dinner, even though you're not paying, you're programmed to only select the cheapest thing. My friend's mom said you sure like hot dogs. That's all you order no matter where we go to eat. My mom could somehow cook 2 chickens on a Sunday and feed 6 people all week. Towards the end it was more just corn chowder cooked in chicken stock. But it was dinner. Also we kept a garden. You didn't work the garden. You didn't eat. Sit down on a summer evening. Better have a bowl in your lap and be shelling, stringing, or shucking something. Feed the hulls to the neighbor's pig because she'll save a ham for us. Not being able to do extracurriculars. I wanted to be in orchestra and I wanted to play soccer but we couldn't afford it, so I was told no. Couldn't afford the uniforms or the gas to get me to practice. And definitely couldn't afford a violin. I ended up moving to a largely upper middle class area for college. First boyfriend was rich. He played 9 instruments and played soccer and went skiing since age 6. He voiced that he thought I was lazy and untalented for not having done at least a sport or learned something like guitar. I explained that we couldn't afford it, but that didn't seem to register. He tried to give me his old violin at one point so I could learn, and his mother pretty much ripped it out of my hands. The one thing I don't know from growing up poor is how the hell a dishwasher works. Pre-cut Christmas trees are free on Christmas Eve. I remember the Christmas tree hunt on Christmas Eve was like our little family tradition. We would drive around in the evening looking for stores that still had trees sitting out front. 9 times out of 10, when we would ask about the tree we were interested in, they would say just take it, glad to get rid of them by that point. Every year we had a perfectly beautiful tree and it was exciting to find perfect trees for free and then stay up late decorating it with homemade glitter pine cones and candy canes. When you get home and see a yellow notice hanging off your door, you're it's always on a Friday too, so you're out of luck until Monday. When someone breaks into your house but doesn't take anything. Happened once. Still think it's funny. You can live on strawberry powder, Nesquik and water for 3 days. Pizza nights are the best birthday present you could ever get. A whole pizza, ordered exactly how you like it, and you get to have more than one slice. How good a buttered tortilla is. How to keep a 7-year-old from knowing she's poor. My mom used to take my brother and I to the soup kitchen every week to volunteer. We must always be kind to those less fortunate, she'd say. Then, after volunteering, oh, it's so late and I don't feel like cooking. Let's just eat here while we're here. Witness to the adage, how much you really do have. Major fire wiped out several $100 million homes. Heat generated left rubble of 2-story homes only feet high. Families devastated. I still see the face of one man so completely shattered, I wondered if he would live to be able to rebuild. I later was in the command post area when I was approached by a young girl and her father. The dad couldn't speak English, so the girl would translate. My family wants to know if this is where we can bring donations for the people whose houses burned down. To my working knowledge, none had been established at that point. Her father talks. She translates. Can we leave it here? Many roads are being closed, and we're not familiar with this part of town. I walk with them to their car, a much older Beta, the mom and a couple of siblings in it. Dad opens the trunk, and together, we all bring out couple cases of water, canned and dry food, adult and child clothing, some used toys, and prepared food. Almost lost it when each kid handed me the toys. Little girl, we have so much stuff and we want to share with those families. What it's like to be told you think you're just better than us because my mom valued education and prioritized it so we could do better for ourselves. Going into pawn shops to find the things your aunt stole from you and pawned to get drug money. Knowing which family members you had to hide medicine, your purses, and other valuables from when they would visit. The embarrassment of whipping out the Monopoly money food stamps. The taste of government peanut butter. What it's like to use the same bath water as your siblings because running a new tub of water is a waste. The excitement of a trip to the day-old bread store. The ubiquitousness of the concept of need versus want. What it's like to sit at the dinner table emptying piggy banks to help your mom pay bills. Holding your mom quietly the amazingly few times she'd break down crying at the end of the day. Anything shiny on the ground might be a coin. I truly had no idea until I was in my junior year of high school taking child development that Head Start was a program created for children from homes of low income. I simply thought it was a place for me to get a head start as a kid. I still remember my teacher saying verbatim, "No honey, your family was just poor," in front of the whole class. If you send a bad check to the utilities company on a Friday, you have power for the weekend. Cockroaches are killed by baking soda. Not to ask the parents for stuff. You develop an appreciation for hand-me-down clothes when they come your way. How to cook with the government surplus cheese. We got so much of that cheese. A few years ago I stopped in a Hostess bread store in a poor neighborhood. I was the only white guy in the store, and while waiting in line, other people started talking about the government cheese. And I said that my family got a lot of it and we liked it. Everyone goes quiet and looked at me. Then someone says, "We thought that was just for black folk." And I said, "No, we got it too because it was for poor people," and then we all started talking about the cheese. I don't know about in other states, but in MN they can't shut your power off during the winter because of the danger of someone freezing to death in their house. So that was a good time to try to catch up on some other bills you were way behind on too. What hunger really is. I remember waiting for my dad's payday for the grocery shopping trip and being absolutely ravenous when the food got there. Food stamp paper change. When I was a kid, if you used food stamps they would give back the change in food stamp form. My mom was too proud to publicly use them, so she would make up a reason to leave and I would have to pay using them. I was 11 or so. She did it every time. I had to learn to keep my head up. Your dad asking you for $20 so he can go to work for the week but he'll pay you back when he gets paid. Yeah, my dad would randomly give me $5 every month or 2 months. Sometimes I saved it up and it always hurt when he needed $20 for gas. I didn't get mad though because it was his money originally. I remember my dad breaking down in tears for the first time that I've seen and asking me for my birthday money so we could eat. I ended up giving it to him. Never got it back, but he's made up for it by now. That birthday sucked, man. That's sometimes your parents sacrifice everything they have, including their sanity, just to see you happy, and you only learn later in life the soul-crushing existence of poverty. Then you wonder how they managed to do so much with so little. For reals. I was 30 when I realized what mom meant when she told us kids to go ahead and eat because she ate in the kitchen. How important ingenuity becomes to eat. Mom could make a bag of potatoes last 2 weeks amongst 5 kids. Her and my dad. Rice, butter, and sugar was a breakfast food. Biscuits lasted days, retoasted with butter and brown sugar for dinner, etc. Outdated technology. When I started college, one of my professors asked if anyone in our class remembered how you changed a channel on the TV before remote controls. I was the only person in the room who remembered turning dials and adjusting rabbit ears despite being one of the youngest students in the class. Because my family had a TV from the 70s until 1995. Same sort of thing with computers, phones, etc. If we had it at all, we got something much later than anyone else after it got cheaper and bought used. I got my first computer in 1999. It had Windows 3.1 and that was what I used until I was able to use my financial aid to get a new PC tower for college. Government cheese. Doing your laundry in a bathtub using only cold water. BC the gas was shut off. Trying to spend the night at your friend's house. BC they had food and a warm room. Thanks Nikki. Loving going to school because you could at least eat there. Trips to Goodwill for new clothes. Showers at school because at least 3 water was warm. Being made fun of because you smelled like kerosene. Having lice and no one doing anything about it. Going to school with bruises. BC your parents took their shitty decisions out in you. I'm so grateful to a handful of people that saw potential in me. I went to college, got a great job, and broke the cycle. Thanks Tom and Tony. Camping is only fun when you've never had to do it out of necessity. The feeling of not eating for a day or sometimes days. My longest drought was 3 days with no food. Sucks because people make shitty comments about how nice it must be to be so skinny and they have to struggle to keep their weight down. Like, be poor, go a few days without food and your body just starts to eat itself. I'm thankful I haven't missed a day to eat in 10 years. But I still can't fathom eating 3 meals in one day. I had a friend in college who would wolf down food like nobody's business and was stick thin. I used to make a lot of jokes about it. Looking back I feel bad because I realized the only time he was eating was when I bought him food. Libraries can save your life. The first part of my childhood I would get home from school, usually to a vacant house. I really wouldn't know if I was even going to see either of my parents each night. No cell phones of course. But I was always afraid, nervous at least, of what would happen if they did decide to make an appearance. I started walking to the library every day after school and staying till they closed every night just to avoid the feeling of anxiety for a little longer. Eventually one of the librarians noticed and took a liking to me. I think she might have been through similar things in her life that she saw in me. Gradually we got to know each other. First I started noticing there were more books being added in the genres that I liked. Then one day after the library closed, I walked over to McDonald's. I was a quarter or so short to buy a hamburger and she saw me asking people if they had any change. I saw her and was embarrassed and kinda hid from her. From that point on I think she decided that she was going to take me under her wing. For over a year she would come by my desk at the library and just drop off chips, granola bars, pop, whatever you know. Of course, I would tell her I didn't need it, when in reality I only knew where one meal would come from each day. When I would ask her where it came from, she would just say it was extras from the break room, even though I could hear her in there putting coin after coin into the vending machine. Eventually she would just bring dinner every night to the library and we would sit down in the break room with each other and eat. I finally opened up to her about my family, living issues and had her to talk to, even though I was still pretty guarded. This was a huge relief. Then, after I had been there almost 2 years, it was the week before school started, and I headed into the library. Before I left she told me to meet her outside after close. I did. We walked to her car, and she pulled out a brand new school backpack, and inside was a new outfit, binder, and shoes, my first Nikes. That's when I broke down, and my walls crumbled. She was a single lady working off a librarian's income, but she still made room for me. For 3 years she supported me as much as she could, and she was more of a friend than I had ever experienced up until that point in my life. She is the #1 reason I got out of that house and life. She was with me at all my adoption hearings, and made sure I was put with a nice family. She was at my graduation, and my wedding. She saw me grow up and succeed in life after coming from the bottom. She saw her work and love pay off. I went to her funeral this summer and it felt like I had lost my mother, but I couldn't stop reflecting on how much she changed my life through her sacrifice. Truly an amazing person, and I still donate to the library every year.